So just to finish this lecture, the German population went through some very hard times at the beginning of World War I before the United States entered. And that because the British had a much larger navy. You couldn't sink all the British ships with submarines or U-boats. And they blockaded England with their vast numbers. It was the largest navy in the world at the time. There you see the pictures of the blockade. And remember, Germany has very little access to the water, and England's an island country with a global power because they, controlled Canada, parts of Africa, and Australia and India as well. But America, we didn't like the Kaiser. He was an autocrat, a ruler with unlimited power, and we have never liked autocrats in this country. We distrusted the autocrat in Russia, the Tsar, and we distrusted the autocrat in Germany, known as the Kaiser, who you can see here looking at his troops, and you can see here with his fancy tights on, posing for a picture. So we didn't trust this guy. And during the war, the first part of the war, we did remain neutral, mostly because of the money we were making trading with both the Allies and the Axis during this time period. So we were trading with the good guys and the bad guys. Here you can see some boats that were moving across the ocean from America to Europe, taking goods, taking supplies. So America was officially neutral, but at the same time, we knew if this war expanded, we would get pulled into it. So we were training an army. Here are some graduates, and we were making huge loans to our good friends. A lot of people began a new movement in the United States called a peace movement. These were what was left of the Populist Party, progressives in this country, and social reformers who wanted there not to be money spent on war. And finally, there was a British passenger ship that was, in fact, carrying a cache of arms to our friends in Europe. In 18 minutes, it was sunk by U-boats, 1,200 dead, 128 of them were Americans. Here's a picture of it. And that outraged us because we claimed there were no arms on the ship, but there were, in fact, a few arms secretly being carried on the ship. The Germans sunk it, and it outraged America, and we moved closer and closer to war after the sinking of the Lusitania. In response, the Germans created something called the Sussex Pledge, and that said that Germany would warn ships before sinking them. Eventually, they broke that and began to sink more ships. Here they are on the left coming aboard a ship. They actually would, according to the Sussex Pledge, come next to the ship, say, hey, you need to abandon ship because we're going to sink you. They would abandon ship, and you'd sink their ship. Eventually, they just said that was too much time, so they started sinking ships again. The Zimmerman Note, a lot of people think it was created by the United States as propaganda, but there was a note that flew from Washington, D.C. to Mexico City, was intercepted in the southwest, and it promised the Germans promised the Mexicans that if they joined the Germans in fighting the Americans when the Americans entered the war, that they would give them back California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, etc. And then probably the most seismic event that happened before our entering the war was a revolution happened in Russia, and they overthrew their autocrat, the Tsar, who you see here posed with his family. And they did not have a democracy. What came to be was a communist country, but it made us feel more comfortable with them in the war because the autocrat was gone. There's Vladimir Lenin giving a speech after leading the revolution, and there they are marching through the streets. So, in the end, Germany continued to sink U.S. ships. Wilson had no choice as the amount of money being wasted on paying for the ships that are being sunk. Wilson declared war. He went to Congress, declared war. Remember, the president can recommend it. It's Congress that actually makes the declaration of war, and we entered World War I. And that is the end of that lecture.